Happy Friday, friends.
How's it going, friends?
You expected this, right? I mean, the name of our show was Living on a Prayer.
Can't not, right?
Right?
I thought of having the title today be Have a Little Faith, and then something by divine intervention flew into my head and said, what about Living on a Prayer?
Right?
And then I immediately had to
80s.
listen to the song.
And the words are so perfect.
No doubt about it, right?
The chorus, I played the video for the kids earlier because I'm like, Bon Jovi, because we're trying to find this wig and whatnot. And first of all, their reaction to Bon Jovi's hair and the band members' hair was priceless. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's their hair. Yeah. So that was really, really fun to go back in time a little bit. But yeah, the chorus, I can't think of any of the words right now.
Well, the part I hope is, I don't know, I guess that would be a good thing, is that we're halfway there.
Yes.
I hope it's less than halfway there. But if we're halfway there, we'll take it at this point.
Take my hand. We'll make it, I swear. Right? I mean, this is turning into karaoke, but, you know. Thanks for being here. I can't see anything. So we got Steven and Carrie and Mary and Kim and
Angela, Jim. Great to have you guys here.
This is going to be, I think, one of my favorite shows yet. We are really, you just stay like that. You look, he looks cool. I can't wear that wig the whole time. Yeah.
My glasses are over there. I don't want to get them on.
So anyway, this is, I think, going to be my favorite show that we've done yet. I think it's really prime time to talk about some serious strategies. I don't know about you, but yesterday on Facebook especially, there is a lot of depressed people and a lot of people who are not sure what to do next. So I think we're really going to kind of talk about some foundational stuff here today, and we're really excited about our special guest.
Yes, we are.
So our special guest today, and I invited a bunch of people who know him. So thank you for being here. I see a lot of familiar names. Is a friend of ours, a very dear friend of several decades, and actually one of my cousins. And his name is John Wentz. And John and I and Jason became buds early in our dating years. Yeah,
it was community college. John and I went to the same high school together. He was, I think, a year behind me. But we really got to know each other in...
Okay.
We really got to know each other in college and went through a program called TECH, which was Teens Encounter Christ. And I'm sure John will share his story. For me, it was a real huge moment in my life that helped me to take my faith to a whole new level. It was kind of just on autopilot, wasn't really that important to me, and it was huge, and totally transformed me to where I am now, and actually is how we met, because I never would have met Kim had I not gone through this program, and that's how we met John too. So.
Yeah, and of course, as you'll see, John is just a really fun, faithful guy. So we're excited to have him on. Let's pull him up.
Pull him up. We'll see John. We'll be inviting you now.
And John lives in a suburb of Chicago. And we saw him 2 years ago at a tech event. They had a tech reunion, and he came out. Jason was doing a little speaking for it, and it was pretty neat to see him and his family there.
Yeah.
So we'll see if the tech wants to play nice. Come on.
John got the invitation. If not, there we go.
Hey, there he is.
Hey guys.
Hey, you haven't aged a day. How is that possible?
I haven't.
Seriously, you're
like
20 years old. Come on.
So,
thank you for
good
being
to have you,
here.
John. I need to take my clothes off now and be a little bit more serious.
With your
because if there's anything that me and John have a bond on, is always being serious and taking each other very seriously, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we're so honored, and I'm sure you see some familiar names in the chat there, to be able to kind of reminisce a little bit, but mainly go back to kind of our foundational roots. And when I think of my faith foundation, I think of you, John, because I think we were all there together, owning our faith at the same time in a very pivotal point in our late teen, early 20s. And so I just wanted to kick it off here by giving you a chance to kind of share your faith journey and where you were maybe when you met us, but also kind of how that has evolved into what you're doing today.
Yeah, well, thanks. And it is awesome to be on here. And I absolutely love the work that you guys do. It's so needed right now, with the heaviness of everything that's going on. It's great. So,
Thanks.
But yeah, I think it was actually tech that brought us together. And Kim, I don't even know that. I think that's where I realized that you were my cousin. Actually.
Right. Same.
I somehow
totally.
had gone 19 years of my life and didn't realize that I had a cousin until we met at this Catholic retreat center.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. We have, and to be fair to both of us, that's a really big side of the family, and they don't get they get along. They don't get together. There's no reunions that really like pull people together. So anyway, background for the outside folks there on that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I grew up in North Central Illinois. I lived on a farm, and I think probably the unique part of my story, one of the unique elements of my story, is that I grew up in the carnival and would sell funnel cakes. And so my family, that was our family business. We would travel around in the carnival, and, from Memorial Day in May to Labor Day in September, we were at a different carnival or a different fair or festival every week. And so that had a really shaping impact on me growing up. My family, was not spiritual or religious. We didn't go to church or anything. And I remember my parents just saying, treat others the way you want to be treated. And that was kind of our motto. And, but yeah, growing up in the carnival was fascinating. I actually had some really strange encounters with people who, claimed to follow Jesus, but were just, in my eyes, really strange people. And I'm gonna share this one story because I think not at all to embarrass whoever this person was. I've actually tried to find them, but when I was 7 years old, I was at a fair, and I was walking through like the commercial exhibit hall, where they have all the stuff laid out. They're selling all the different things. And there was this one particular like church that had set up a booth, and they had a box on the table. And as a 7-year-old, I'm walking by, and they grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me over and said, "Hey, what do you think's inside of this box?" And I was like, "I have no idea." They opened it up, and there was a human skull in it. And they said, "This is you. You're going to burn it out."
What?
Yeah. So like as a 7-year-old, I think I peed just a little bit in my pants at that moment.
Yeah.
It was
wow.
really terrifying. It was actually really scary. And they were like yelling it at me.
Oh.
So like literally, I think that's one of my earliest moments with people of faith. And I didn't understand. I always thought people of faith were just really angry, argumentative. And so, but luckily, I grew through some of those phases, encountered more strange people, but then landed at this place, my senior year of high school in just outside of Mendota, Illinois, this little Catholic church. There was actually a French foreign exchange student in my Spanish class that invited me to go to this Catholic retreat. And the only reason I went was because I needed stuff on my scholarship applications for religious activities. I had no religious activities. And actually, when I was in high school, I was always very interested in spirituality. And my freshman, sophomore, junior year, I really read a ton of Zen Buddhism and really liked a lot of the philosophy behind Zen. And so that was my self-proclaimed religion, was Zen. And then I stumbled into this Catholic retreat center where I met Jay. And that was really my first genuine introduction to God. and it changed my life. It was incredible.
Now, I might have this wrong, but I seem to remember we've talked about when you first went to Tech, part of your goal was to poke holes and raise heck, and kind of like, I'll show them kind of thing. Am I remembering that at all correctly?
100%. Like so I was like, okay, I'll have a religious activity, and it will be fun to go argue with the Christians that are there. And so, because I always had so much fun just frustrating people of faith, and I don't know why I found that to be so fun. It was just so easy to do, to get people of faith riled up and get them frustrated and then get them angry, and I just found that really fun. And then while I was there, they gave you this like little yellow like books to take notes in. I don't know if those who've been on Tech remember this. Yeah, and I remember writing just really vehement stuff in there, like, these people are all hypocrites, they don't know what they're talking about, I hate this place. And it was just like me gushing out all of this vitriol against people of faith. And then there was this guy at my table where we were sitting, and one of the nights, like, I had just had enough. I think it was, you could go confess your sins to a priest or something. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm out of here. This is so not for me. And on my way out, he stopped me. And, it's this little Catholic church in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by cornfields. And I was on my way out the door, and he's like, hey, where are you going? And I was like, I think I'm going to just go home. And we sat down in the little lobby entryway of this little tiny Catholic church. And I think he was the first person of faith who asked me a question and then really listened to me. Mm-hmm. And after I kind of poured out all of my, shallow well, honestly, of complaints about faith and everything else, he just asked me one question that changed the direction of my life forever. And it was, what issues do you have with Jesus? Mm-hmm. And immediately I had no answer. I couldn't have told you 5 details about Jesus. All I knew is that people of faith had told me I was going to hell, and I couldn't stand the organized religion around their hypocrisy. But here was a person who was just saying, hey, what issues do you have with Jesus? And I very quickly realized I had been a closed-minded one. I had never actually taken the time to consider who Jesus was. And then he gave me space and was so gentle through that whole conversation. And it really opened my eyes and set me on a journey that, I continue on to this day. So.
That's amazing. It's awesome. First of all, we need to keep that box, leave that off to the side. We won't bring that in.
What are you talking about?
With the skull in it.
Oh. I didn't even consider that we would have a box.
That could make some fun moments.
Like there's no box right there.
It's a new parenting disciplining technique.
Yeah, that could work for certain things. Wow. It's amazing to me what little things happen to us in our life that turn out to be big things that we don't even realize. Which is, I think, what is the most hopeful about this whole crisis we're in is there's a lot of scary things, but there's a lot of cool things happening as well. And I can't wait for those stories to be told. And they're already being told, but even as we get through this, to be like, man, and I said this a couple of days ago, if like that coronavirus thing never would have happened, I never would have, and fill in the blank. And that's going to be pretty cool. But tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Yeah, so the irony of ironies is that now I spend my days helping people explore faith. And actually, I've served in ministry. I've worked in a handful of churches over the last 20 years. But now I work with a ministry called Alpha. And what Alpha is an opportunity for people to just wrestle with the big questions of life, explore it from a spirituality and a Christian faith perspective. And you do it over a meal, if you can gather, right? And be together. You watch a video or hear a talk on some basic element of the Christian faith. And then there's open discussion where people get to share their point of view, regardless of their background. They can ask any question. And the unique element of those discussion times is that the people who are providing alpha don't answer people's questions for them. They really create a space where people can self-discover what they believe, why, maybe even like in the place where I was, I've never even thought about this. I don't have any clue what I believe. And then they get to hear other people's perspectives, and it's kind of like you just, throw a ball out in the center of the group and kick it around, and people ultimately find really significant friendships through alpha. They have very meaningful conversations. It's very respectful. It's a great way to listen past our differences. And a lot of people, really actually find a faith through it and discover the person of Jesus for themselves and have an opportunity then to, share that with others. So that's what I do now. And I work with churches all across the US, all across the world, actually. From every denomination. So everybody from Catholic Church to the Baptist Church down the street. And, millions of people have gone through Alpha. It's an organization that started 30 years ago. And I think now is in like 170 different countries around the world. So I oversee our efforts in the US. And last year, we served about 7,500 different churches in the US.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Seeing, Kimberly here saying that they have alpha at her church. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, John, Kim showed me something you had put on Facebook a couple days ago, maybe last weekend, where you were taking the Inside Out characters, right, with the Pixar movie where they explore the different emotions we have. And I thought that was really creative how you talked about that. And without, I don't want you to go do the whole thing right now, but is there anything that really stands out?
The link, though,
we'll definitely share that. Is there anything that stands out from that message you shared that you think is especially important for people to hear with regard to the feelings that they're experiencing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, we have been thrown into a situation that none of us are prepared for emotionally. This is a third of the world's population right now is kind of on lockdown, staying at home. And you keep hearing the word unprecedented over and over and over again. And so there's all of these emotions that rise up. And I've been doing a ton of writing, a ton of journaling. And really, it was probably about 3 weeks ago, at the beginning of the Lenten season, where I made an intention just to really go deeper in my own faith. To you probably heard, love God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Love your neighbors yourself. And so that was my prayer going into Lent to God was, God, I want to go deeper in what it means to love you with all my heart, all my soul, all my strength. So last weekend, I just kind of explored that a bit. What does it mean to love God with all of our heart? And if our heart is really the inner man, the inner person, it includes all of our emotions that are God-given emotions, then there's got to be a way for those emotions to serve God, to help us even draw closer to God, and ultimately then to love our neighbor. But, I think if I'm honest, like most everybody, fear is very real right now. I think even to a certain level, to a level of panic for many people. I think anger is legitimate right now. I had a friend one time who was a psychologist who said that anger really is a response to some deeper emotions, fear, sadness, or guilt, and that we choose anger to help us cope with those deeper emotions. But I think there's space for anger right now. There's space for sadness, there's space for joy, there's space for fear, there's space for even disgust. And so I think realizing that we have all of those emotions, that's who we are on the inside. We can't just deny those things. So what role can they play right now? And how can we I was almost envisioning, like as I lead a team of people across the US, and I call them together, and every once in a while we have to be like, okay, here's your assignment. We need you to really focus on this, this, and this. We need to work together as a team. It was really my own pep talk to my inner emotions. Like, okay, fear, sadness, joy, disgust. I need you right now, but I need you to do your work appropriately. And I need us to work together as a team. So I think that's what I would encourage everybody with, is just to listen to your emotions. What would you say to that emotion? What do you need that emotion to do for you, to help you love your neighbor? How can that emotion help you love God more? And just to listen to what is happening to those emotions and take care of those emotions, but keep them in their lanes, so that they're doing their work in a positive way eventually.
One's not bossing the other one's around dominating it, right?
Yeah. Well, if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, which, you got time, you might as well explore that. It's a great family movie. Anger kind of goes rogue and, can be a little problematic. And I think our anger sometimes can do that to us. I think any of our emotions can actually get the best of us. And Kim, you were just mentioning depression. Even before the pandemic, there was a total crisis and still is, a massive crisis of depression, anxiety, even leading to suicide for so many of our youth. And,
right.
I think it's when sadness really just takes over and starts driving everything. And there's no space to really work in collaboration with all of our emotions and bring joy out and let sadness do its work. But how can anger maybe move us into gear sometimes, and disgust to protect us from the things that we don't want to become? So yeah, we definitely don't want one of those taking over. My advice, and this is where I land as a person of faith, and I think the Bible even says no person can trust their own heart. And I don't trust myself to even know my heart, or really to even be able to lead my heart. I need God to do that. I need God to come into my life and bring sense to the whole thing. And so in like this whole message, I was just like, okay, I'm bringing in a special guest. It's the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, I need you to come in and lead this team right now to a place where I can't take this team. And it's recognizing our own limits as people. And honestly, I, like many people right now, feel so inadequate to the cultural moment. And I need God right now. I need God to lead my emotions, and I need a higher power to take me where I can't take myself or my family. So faith is a massive source of strength for us in times of need, and in times when we don't even know it's a time of need. So
yeah.
What would you say, John, and thank you for all that. It was really well articulated. What would you say to someone who maybe hasn't had like a faith experience that has been very positive? Maybe, thinking back to yourself like 25, 30 years ago, right? And to be able to say like, okay, so if I kind of know I might need some faith right now because I do feel inadequate and I can't do this on my own, where's a good place to start? Because you can't even walk into a church right now. Like literally, right? That's like a really interesting challenge physically.
Yeah. I think I have such empathy for people who've had negative experiences with faith, because that's my story. I felt like I had great cousins apparently who had great experiences with faith growing up. And, my negative experiences really kept me from even wanting to pursue something, because I just had a bitter, negative taste in my mouth. And, there's so many things that you see all the time, maybe experience that just reinforces that. And so I have a huge place of empathy for people who've experienced that. But I also have seen the people who will, I really believe most people, the vast majority of people are very curious about spirituality and are really interested to know more, because they know deep down there's more to life than what they're experiencing, but they just don't have a place to explore it. And actually, it's funny. I have this huge thing on my wall behind me that I explore. This like kind of core value of my life. But most people really want to explore. They really want to have spiritual conversations. They just don't know how to do it in a way that's not weird or judgmental. And unfortunately, there's so many of us as people of faith, we haven't done a good job either in listening to people and letting people even formulate what their questions are. I mean, most people are just busy. They're busy with life. They're just trying to survive and get through the day, pay their bills, try not to make too much of a mess of their own life or their kids' lives. And they haven't ever taken time to explore. So I would definitely encourage, I'm a huge fan of Alpha. Obviously I lead Alpha here in the US, for a lot of churches. And really what we're doing is helping churches create space where people can be heard and where churches can listen, where people of faith, just like you and I, can even invite our neighbors, and we can do it so online. Like what our team's been doing in the last couple of weeks is creating resources for people to invite friends to come and explore faith online over Zoom or over Google Hangout or whatever it is. And we actually have thousands of churches that are responding, where they can't foresee a reality of even meeting together right now, but they're discovering that there's a whole new opportunity online to be able to do that. And to give people an opportunity to, when they're asking the deepest questions of their lives right now, like, where is God in all of this? I know there's more to life than what I'm experiencing. How do I pray? What's up? Does God even heal people today? How does he do that? Like, all of these questions is what we talk about on Alpha. So it's really exciting. I think it's super compelling. If anybody on the call is ever interested in doing Alpha, it's free. We give all of our resources away for free. And you can go to alphausa.org, explore all of those resources. And it's really just learning how to listen to people. So
that's awesome. We need more of that across the board in our divided time. Like you said, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of loneliness, not just with the social distancing, but again, even before that, we're more connected than ever, but there's a bigger sense of loneliness than ever before as well. So I definitely encourage people to check that out. alphausa.org. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the shameless pitch that I'll make.
No shame. The cool part about this is that there is a gift of time right now. Like you referred to, our normal pace doesn't allow for much exploration of anything beyond your to-dos, right? So it's like taking advantage of this little bit of extra time. We're not commuting, we're not going to movies or extracurriculars or church or anything, so it's like, what's the opportunity in that? And this could be a small one, maybe that could turn out to be pretty huge for people who are searching. So that's awesome. Very cool.
I honestly feel so confident in the work that Alpha does with churches. I could invite anybody from any background, any faith background or no faith background, any lifestyle, like, it doesn't matter, because ultimately it's just about getting to know people and listening and hearing and honoring people's perspectives. And really, I think most people, when they go to bed at night and they're laying down, putting their head to the pillow, there is this internal voice that was there when they were a kid. Maybe they've silenced that voice over the years, but every once in a while it pops back up. It's like, I'm here. And whether that voice exists for so many people, and I've talked to so many people who are like, oh my gosh, if I'm honest, you are exactly right. Like, there is that voice. I know it's there. But yeah, it's giving space and time to actually ask, what is that inside of me? Could that be God? And even to ask the question, what if it were real? What if God really was trying to get my attention? Am I listening? And I think just sometimes we're afraid to even give ourselves space to ask those questions, but it's fun to do it in a group context and people. So
yeah, that's cool. Well, I'd love to be able to go on and on and on and on.
Do we have
This
a
is
question?
awesome. I think
there might be.
I think it's Stephen. He was being silly, I believe.
Stephen being silly.
I did want to add one more thing. What you had said about faiths being so important, especially right now, is I couldn't agree more. I mean, my morning time is sort of, I don't know how I would survive without it, because it's just keeps me grounded for the day. Wake up, and then now it's like, and I go on an afternoon walk because I need another extra boost of reflection time. But one of the things that I came across today was a verse that I thought was really appropriate. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. And that's from Romans. And what I love about my experience with the Bible is how many different levels it can work on. So as it worked in that time when it was written, and then it works for like eternal, like this is like speaking about when we will be in heaven and all that. But it also makes me think of now, like, here we are all suffering in some way, whether it's like financial or spiritual or physical, but that this is nothing compared to not only the glory we will experience someday at the end of our lives, but even maybe a few months from now, a year from now, as we keep that positive outlook. So that really struck me. And so I want to give you the chance, John, if there's any final words of encouragement or anything you want to pass on, unless you have anything else to say before that, but any final words of encouragement that you want to share with who's watching now live and anyone who's watching the replay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would just say this, being a person who, has lived a good portion of my life, half my life, without God in my life, and living another half of it with God in my life, I would say there's no substitute for actually being able to interact with who I believe to be the creator of the universe. And I find such comfort in my own life, regardless of what comes, like I have an actual relationship that I can share that all of those burdens with, someone who knows me, created me, so clearly knows me, understands me, listens to me, loves me unconditionally. And there is a sense of unshakable peace and joy and a source of love that enables me to love my neighbors beyond what I'm able to do, that I wouldn't trade for anything. And my hope for anyone would be that they would find that same meaningful interaction with a God who's created you, and that it will bring joy in the midst of incredible suffering, loss, that it can bring peace in times when we don't understand, but allow God to be mysterious and loving and everything else. So that's my hope is, if you're sitting at home and maybe you don't have access to an alpha near you or anything like that, you have access to God, and you can reach out and just begin and just say, hey, maybe you're laying in bed at night and you're like, I don't even know if you're real. Maybe I'm just going crazy, but if you're real, show me. And just start praying that every day. God, show me if you're real. Show me if you're real. And then look and keep your eyes open. I think you'll find he's been there the whole time. So.
And what was the website again? What's his website? Do you have an email with a Gmail?
Is it going live tonight at 7 p.m. or?
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
The living room concert mentality. No. Well, I could totally relate to that last sentiment, John. In the woods, I like to walk, and on those days, I mean, most days, on good days, I try to remember to say, "Show me your glory," and it's like mind blowing when I actually do that, because I'm like, right there,
Mm-hmm.
So
good stuff.
Always so personal. Always so good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John. I'm seeing in the comments here, Gail says, so glad I was able to be with you today. Karen says, thank you. I needed to hear all of this. Angela says, it's amazing what you can discover when you ask a question and keep your eyes open for the answer. Mary agrees with that. So this has been such a blessing for us, I think, for our viewers and tribe. And so great to connect with you. I'm so glad you're doing such amazing work.
Yeah.
And
I'm proud of you, John.
Yeah. Good job, God.
I learned it from watching you. Yeah,
well,
you guys are great. It could be a great love fest right now for sure. I'm sure everybody will watch that. But seriously, you guys are so creative and so fun. And I hope, I mean, everything that your whole message, you're just, everything you poured your life into is so worthy of it. So keep doing it. You guys are amazing.
No, go on.
Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Take care. Keep up the good work.
Yep. All right. Take care, guys.
Bye, buddy.
All right.
All right.
Woo.
That was good. Good stuff.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So
I know the kids wanted to say hi. We really try to be respectful of your half hour. So sorry, it went a little over. We got a little emotional. Kiddos wanna, but we will be back on Monday with more awesomeness. We have 2 really great guests lined up next week, which we're really excited about. You guys want to say hi?
Yeah. Tina's got some more art
more
to show
drawings.
people.
You want to see? And I realized some of this stuff wasn't showing up based on the. I think
Just
I move
keep it
it.
back
Yes,
towards us
I think
and
I
hold
move
it
it
still.
too much. So what do we got here, Rowie?
It is people that's from a school and it's different people jobs.
Different people from a school and their different jobs.
I see a dog
The
too.
same school.
Same school, different jobs, huh? Very good.
Lots of doodles here. Thanks for sharing. Anything else you guys want to share? No, we've been having the family tradition after the show to go for a family walk, and it looks like it's about 50 degrees here in Wisconsin today. Woo!
Sunshine, a little sunshine,
It's gonna
kind
be
of.
awesome, right? Thanks for saying hi. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, as Kim said, we'll be back on Monday. So have a great weekend. Feel free to please share this show with friends if you thought it was helpful. We'll have the replay here, and we put the episodes up on YouTube and on Facebook. If you are new here, I see some new faces or new names. Go to escapeadulthood.com, and you'll see a little button on the top that has helpful tools we have to help you through this crisis, dealing with adultitis. And there's all sorts of free resources that we have, and want you to take advantage of it. So thank you guys for spending time with us today and this week, and wishing you great safety, great love, and keep shining.
See you soon.